What is going on, everybody? Today we are going to dive into the world of GM scan tools, and more importantly, we're going to talk about this little device right here. Hey everybody, it's Kyle and welcome back to the garage. I want to take a second to thank everybody as usual for subscribing, for sharing the links, tuning101.com, hitting us up on the Instagram, Goat Rope Garage, all that fun stuff. Today though, we're going to dive right into it and talk about GM scan tools and the evolutions that's kind of happened over the past few years, and why this little blue device here called the VCX Nano is probably the best bang for the buck. And the big thing about it is you have to understand kind of the background of the different tech tools that have been used. Starting back in the early 90s, they were using the little known Tech 1 device out there that was for the first computer controlled vehicles that GM really had out. Then as the protocol started evolving and the requirements started evolving, that's whenever the Tech 2 came out, and it really blossomed out with the introduction of the Candy, which is a peripheral module that allows the Tech 2 to talk on CAN bus vehicles. So basically from the 2006, 7, 8 era, whenever they were transitioning into CAN, you had to have that Candy device. The cool thing about the Tech 2 though, it was a standalone handheld that would allow you to do a lot of different things on the vehicles themselves. And then on top of it, it allowed programming of the modules through TIS 2000, which was a software platform that you ran on the laptop. You connected it through the Tech 2 and it became a pass-through device. And it all is based on a certain platform. That platform is the J2534 protocol, which ended up being kind of the pass-through communications platform. Well, eventually the Tech 2 got phased out. It was really supported up until around 2012, 2013, so it had a decent lifespan on it. But what came after that was the MDI, which is a Bosch unit. It is purely a hardware interface, pass-through interface that works with a software platform to do all the new vehicles that are on the CAN bus. But it also supports the older vehicles through a Windows emulation of the Tech 2 software. And that's kind of what we're going to touch on today. But this device, the VCX Nano, which is a third-party device, supports the protocol for pass-through, which is an open protocol that has to be allow us to edit these things or to make these changes to our vehicles, but then we have to use it in concert with things like the TIS2 Web for upgrading now, because we don't have TIS 2000. But through TIS2 Web, we can go out, get a ECM or TCM flash file, an OS file as they're called, and load that into a new module. We'll be doing that later on in a future video whenever we do the ECM upgrade for the Cadillac. But for now, we're just going to focus on kind of getting the Tech 2 portion of this running, run through a couple menus, maybe check the vehicle for codes, etc., so you can see exactly how that side of it's done. It's a little bit complicated. Let me pop up a window here, and these programs are the programs that come on the CD whenever you buy one of these devices. So I'm not going to go through the process of actually installing these programs, but we will talk a little bit about the VX Manager, which is the one that allows you to go in, view what licenses, because there are actual licenses on the device, update device, firmware, stuff like that. And then we will talk about how to set the software side of it up to do Tech 2 Win. Eventually, as I said, in a future video, we will do the TIS2 Web side of it, where we go in through the SPS portal, which is actually Java-based, that launches and then uses your J2534 device to send the update through that program, which is not included in this package. That does cost money. You have to go out there, spend the $40 per VIN that you want to have access to the files to. But the rest of the stuff that we can do on here, which is the Tech 2 Win. Normally that is a $250 software application. It is included with this. Don't ask me about how they do that. It may not be the most up. And then there is a virtual machine on here which runs the GDS2, which is the newer diagnostic software for GM platform vehicles. And so that's what you would use on a Gen 5 platform. You can go in and do things like crank relearn, key fob programming, a lot of the stuff that you can access through the back end, what the dealership can do. In fact, if you were to do a remote start installation on a newer vehicle out of the factory, it comes with a code. You then call in the GM service line, give them that code and the VIN number. They will update the back-end software to allow you to download a new operating system into your BCM through this device and the SPS service web. So pretty cool stuff. But for now, let's jump in the vehicle. Let's plug this thing in, open up the diagnostics window, and then I'll show you what all needs to be set up in order to properly connect to a Tech 2 series vehicle. So this is going to be like 96 until 2013. I'm going to go ahead. I have got the unit that has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth on it. I'll be honest with you, I don't know that I would spend the money on this one, so I'm going to link the USB only one down below. That would be the one that I'd get because I've used the Wi-Fi on this. It works somewhat all right, but you're going to want to be plugged in with Bluetooth almost all the time, specifically because this device is big enough where it's not something that you want to leave plugged in all the time. Find the OBD2 port here and get her plugged in. And we have accessory mode on here on the car, and let's plug it in. Now, the first thing to check for is if you go into Device Manager, you should be finding a new COM port on here if this thing's loaded up. Look for any of the yellow exclamation points. The software really does a decent job of getting everything installed as far as the drivers go, but if you come underneath COM ports, we're on COM port 9. Let's go ahead and open up the VX Manager. It's going to prompt us saying, hey, this is unknown. This software is not that bad. It's getting all the other stuff kind of lined out that becomes an issue on this. So we are connected up here. We can choose to reconnect. If it says that we're online, that means we are connected to the device. As you can see, we're reading voltage off of it. We got 11.97 volts on here. I've actually got the trickle charger connected to this. This situation, there should not be any issues. And in fact, I would advise having a trickle charger on this if you're going to be connected up for a long time so you don't accidentally lose power in the middle of this process. Let's see, if you come over to licenses here, these are the licenses that are on the actual device itself. We have the pass-through, which is that J2345 protocol I was talking about. PDU, I'm not sure what that one is. Then we have the GDS license, which is the modern version of the Tech 2 that is used for the Gen 5 platforms. Then we have the GMT to Win, which is basically, I believe, the Tech 2 stuff. Now, if we were to go into diagnostics, these are the different drivers that we need to have loaded up to get this to work. And so you can click on here and it will tell you if you are up to the latest version. It'll say update if you're not. So whenever you come in here, it's always a good thing to load this up, double check, make sure everything's up to date. And then you'll see where it says please run. We're going to come in here on the pass-through and run the pass-through driver because we're going to have to set this up. This is the part that causes a lot of people issues, is getting this pass-through driver set up. If you notice, there's a lot of interfaces loaded on here, and what we're wanting to do right now is the Tech 2. We're literally wanting to load the driver for the Tech 2 interface. So select that from the drop down, click Load DLL. Let's try it out. We'll go ahead now and launch Tech 2 Win. Now, depending on where you're at, you know, this can be different, but we're usually going to choose North America, even if you're looking for Chevrolet. So keep that in mind. We'll have a window pop up and doesn't look like we found it. We can try selecting the MDI, and if it shows up as a USB device, we're good. Oh, see, there it is. There's the USB device. So now we are connecting to the vehicle. We should be able to go over here and possibly expand this window out. I don't know. I've never really tried it. There we go. And you can see all right away, it says that it has the Candy module attached. We've got a keypad over here on the side that emulates everything that we're doing. So we can go ahead and hit enter. And we will go into diagnostics. You can see underneath here that there is SPS on this. We'll get into that later because we do not use SPS through the Tech 2. We use it through the software platform. But the rest of this stuff, we should be able to kind of go in here and look at some of these things. Another interesting thing is generally you can click on these to go into these shortcuts, so you don't actually have to use the keypad on the right. So if you want to go into the tool options, you can go in here, set the, you know, any of this stuff. If we go into diagnostics here though, we can find our vehicle. We're in a 2006 passenger car, Cadillac, and I know that this is a Y type. You might have to go back and click on a different, couple different ones of these, but I happen to know that the Y platform is the Cadillac XLR. So we're going to look at the XLR. And we can come in here and we've got all the different stuff that we can look at. We can go into the engine. We can look at all the different stuff underneath the engine, such as the controls. We can check for DTCs. Let's do a scan real quick. And you can tell down here in the corner that it is scanning to the vehicle and back to the Tech 2. This is our vehicle. This is our Candy, which would be the interface, the USB interface, and then of course the Tech 2 is the software. So we do have a ECM, but we don't have any DTC. So if we do view all DTCs, we don't have any ECM DTCs. But let's back out. Let's check a couple different setups. If we go into, well, I tell you what, let's go into body and accessories, because I was in here messing around the other day with the windows. So if you come underneath doors and check the doors, we were actually getting a DTC on the door. I don't know if we will today, but we were getting a low voltage situation on here while I was trying to figure out why this window wasn't going up. It was coming up about 1/8 of an inch short, maybe 1/4 of an inch short. So I was trying to track down an issue, and there might be an issue with the driver door switch. As you can see, we go through this process. It waits its turn, then it communicates with a specific module. There we've got a DTC on the passenger door module. Got one on the remote controlled door lock also. So we can view all DTCs. Lost communications with the folding top controller. And this is the passenger door module, mind you. And then left rear low tire pressure sensor. I know that that one's bad. I can go ahead and clear them here. Straightforward. Oh, I have to actually hit the yes button on the keypad to do that. And then it wipes these DTCs out. But you can also use this to go in and do a lot of cool things like troubleshooting. Specifically, as I said, I was trying to troubleshoot the window and I wanted to see if the window was indexing properly. So what I can do then is come back in here, go into our special functions, I believe it is. It's either that or module setup. Here we go. So we're going to look at the driver door module and we're looking for driver window motor, and we're going to get a bunch of data from this window motor. In fact, it says that we're idle right now. If I use the button to push it up, there it says we're up. You can notice that we've got counts here. The counts is the position. It's 0 to 255. 255 is all the way up. And what I wanted to double check was whether or not we were getting to 255 in the position where I thought it should be. It looked like it was getting to about 250. But what's also cool is you can notice right here that there's driver window motor commands through the Tech 2. I can roll the window up through the Tech 2. I can roll it down. So you can do all kinds of stuff. You can come in here, look at the switches, look at the, what the mirror voltages are getting, what the positions. These counts on the mirrors are the actual same situation where the mirrors have been moved into a position, and that is the recorded count for that position. Then you can come in here. If you hit the more button, you can change the units if you want to. There's not really any units to change on this. Or you can do select items, where you get a list of different things that you can select and look at a short list. So if I do like, hold on a second, I hit the wrong button. If I do select items, battery signal voltage, it'll put an asterisk behind it. If I do window motor sensor 1 and sensor 2, I accept all these. Now I've got a short list here that I can scroll through that does not give me all the information for, say, the passenger side window while I'm troubleshooting. Same ordeal, as I said, the remote control door lock receiver, you can come through here in not necessarily this section, but if you were to go into module setup, you should be able to program, oops, wrong button. Personalizations, driver 2, you can change any of this stuff that's already in there. This is a lot of stuff that you can do through the DTC, but such as like driver 1. I don't have the driver 1 key fob, so you could come in here and you could program the key fobs. invalidate them all, or you could program directly to key fob 1, which you can't do through the DIC. You have to go through the steps. So if I have a 2 and I get a new key fob, it's going to program that one to 3, or else I have to erase them all. This way I could literally go in and program directly on the key fob 1. But let's take a look at the engine stuff real quick. Cool thing about it is if you come underneath the entertainment center on here, or the entertainment section, and you have a speaker that you're having issues with, you can actually go through the special functions on this through the amplifier, and you can choose to play individual speakers through your system. So in this case, we've got 8 speakers, looks to be 7 speakers plus a microphone. We can play the stereo through one speaker at a time until we find the one that's blown. Just, you know, kind of simple things like that. But as I said, let's come back in here. Let's look at the engine. And we can go into engine controls and down into module setup. Crankshaft position, variation learn, idle learn reset, and idle oil life reset, which isn't a big one. But the idle learn and the crankshaft position, everybody's asking whether or not you can do crankshaft position relearns. You can through this. It works just like the Tech 2 for a fraction of the cost. I haven't looked into the special functions on here, so I'm not sure what all special functions that you can do on some of this stuff, but you know, there's a lot of different things where you can check sensors specifically, check relays, you know, turn the fuel pump on, heated oxygen sensors. I wonder what we can do on those. So if we look at oxygen sensors waiting for data, we're actually going to get data back off the oxygen sensor. Probably won't work because we're not on right now. Well, we're reading back all zeros. So, but a lot of interesting information, you know, shows if we got power enrichment on whenever we're doing this. We can log all this stuff, you know, kind of data log some of this stuff back. So it's a great way to double check some of your sensors and stuff. Make sure everything's reading in properly. But I'm going to wrap this up, jump out, and we'll talk a little bit more about it. Okay, so that is the VCX Nano. This thing is less than $100 for the USB only one. As I said, I'll post a link down below to the Amazon Prime shipping. Man, you can't go wrong. Even the Chinese knockoff Tech 2s are like $300. The Chinese knockoff MDIs and MDI2s are $200 to $300. So for a third to half the price, you can buy this thing, and it does everything. Now, on top of it, some of the software that comes with it, I'm not sure what's going on with that. I'm not going to talk about it, but it does have almost all the features that you could want, short of being able to access SPS, which is a subscription-based feature that you have to go in and pay GM to get access to those files. There will be more about that in the future, but honestly, for $100, if you are predominantly working on GM platforms, this will do everything that you want to do. Clear codes, go in, allow you to test out individual systems, get all that back-end data. It works amazingly well. It can just be a little bit difficult to navigate. It gets a little bit more complicated on the Gen 5 platforms, the stuff that's global A architecture, because you got to use that GDS 2 platform, which is like global diagnostic system or something like that. That global A platform, that one has very specific things that need to be ran. I've talked about it in the past and did a short video about it. I'll try and pop a link up in the corner to that if you want to go and learn more about that, where you have to open up a virtual machine, launch the software through that. It can be a pain in the butt to get this thing mapped into the virtual machine properly sometimes, but if you're willing to work out some of the picadillos, some of the bugs that come with this little device, it saves you a lot of money. It is very powerful, very robust, and a great tool for GM people. And honestly, it's probably the cheapest way that you can do a crank sensor relearn, initialize one of those on this platform, so, or any GM platform. So that's kind of wraps it up. If you have any questions, feel free to post them down below. I will do my best to answer, but I am by no means an expert. I've just used this on a couple of vehicles. I've enjoyed it so far. I'm excited to try and use this to program that E67 ECM. I've got a license waiting on SPS right now, so all I have to do is get that thing powered up. And I've been tempted to build a bench for it, to plug it in on the bench and do all the programming through the bench. But honestly, you know, I'm just going to wait till I get it hooked up and I'll program it through the car like normal, and we'll go through that process. Hopefully it works. It may not. You know, I know it's possible, but whether or not it's possible to do it through this, I'm not quite sure. Now, I will say though, I have used TIS2 Web, the SPS portal, and this device to program Global A platform stuff. In fact, I've done recalls on my own truck using this. Recalls will go out there. You can find the recalled OS software, use this to write it in. There was one for like the stereo or something like that because of bad radio reception, who knows. But nonetheless, I was able to go out, find that recall software, load it in, and it gives you the recall code saying this recall has been completed. And then if you go in and pull the information off that VIN number now, it shows that that recall has been completed on there because it's all traced through the VIN, all through the AC Delco website stuff. So pretty cool stuff. Once again, if you like this video, hit that thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed already, what have you got to lose? Check out the live show on Thursdays, 8 Eastern. We've got more stuff coming up. I've got packages coming every day for the Project Country Club Cadillac here. So we are going to be doing the ECM swap. We're literally just waiting on the header connections for the ECM so I can depin the current one and start pinning over to the new one. Done more research on it, as I said, probably going to have some issues with a couple sensors, but we're going to go in and try and disable them from the get-go and just get it running without that. And then we can work through those issues one at a time because it'll all be good, useful content for people that are doing any kind of oddball ECM engine vehicle platform combination. So stick around and remember, ABT, always be tuning. Thanks for stopping by the garage.